Cowan,
Here.
Councillor Maureen Mackay,
Present, Christine.
Councillor Ian Linton,
Here.
Councillor Graham Barton,
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Barry Douglas,
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Neil Ingram,
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Claire Maitland,
Here.
Councillor Drew Filson.
Yeah.
And we have Dr David Lewis.
Yeah.
I have an apology from Harriet Johnston and also from Babs Mowat. Do we have Hazel Malacotti? Jackie Livingston?
I'm here, Christine. It's Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie. Yep, thanks. I know Hazel was on the non-elected members briefing, so I'm thinking she's maybe just taking a couple of minutes to swap our Teams link, so I'll keep an eye on that and I can email her if need be. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Christine. I just reminder that this meeting will be recorded and available to view on the council's website. And if I haven't already done so, can we start recording? Okay, next thing we do is declare any declarations of interest. Does that say anything particularly obvious? No. Okay, then we go to item 2E, which is Education Service Standards and Quality Report 23-24. And Linda, my colleague Griffiths, will give this report.
Good morning, members, and thank you, Chair. Once again, members, delighted to come to you with our annual Standards and Quality Report. Clearly, the purpose of the report is to provide a summary of activity across the full education service in the academic year 23-24. Members, two recommendations this morning, really just to note the content of said report, but also really to hopefully congratulate our young people on their amazing achievements and those staff, families, carers, etc., who support them. Members, paragraphs 3 through 5 cover the background to this report. This is one of the mandatory reports that we have to provide in education in accordance with the Standards in Scotland School Act 2000, and it's a statutory report. Members, in moving to the main report, if I may, I'll use the numbers in the actual document and not your own paper numbers, if I may. So apologies for any confusion, but I just wanted to set that out, if that's okay. So members, in referring to the standard and quality document proper on page 2, 3 to 5, 6 and 7 and 8, you will see the precursor to the report via the forewords supplied by myself, Councillor Cowan as spokesperson, and also John Semple as our Parent Council Steering Group Chair. On page 8, members, in terms of the demographic for education, that's listed.
Sorry, Linda, just sorry to interrupt you, but the original paper numbers aren't on it, so there's no we're taking a. Is there any way we can?
Thanks, David. I'll do it that way.
Sorry,
we're going the old-fashioned way, colleagues. So apologies if this is slightly conflated. I'll be right with you.
Sorry,
okay. I thought they were on the actual document. They're on mine, but they're not on yours. So apologies, members. I'll refer directly to those in your packs, if I may. So, members, I'm on page 13 in respect of the East Ayrshire demographic. I think we're now in tune. Apologies again. So into the report proper, members, pages 15, 16 and 17 are making reference to the school estate in terms of those projects which have already occurred, the most recent of which being Dunlop ECC, and obviously those which you have already agreed are in programme, and some nice pictures as well, members. We've tried to change over this year in this report to having a few more pictures aligned to each of the sections, so I hope that you enjoy these on the way through the report. Members, in proceeding to highlights of 23-24, there were an awful lot to pick from, but we've kept it fairly short and sweet. So on page 18, members, we discuss school leaver attainment on literacy and numeracy. There's references there into the National Improvement Framework, members, and you're more than welcome to click on that to get the background to this particular set of data. Clearly, members, in table 1 on page 18, you can see the attainment of our young people for literacy and numeracy as 2 key qualifications at SCQF 4, then listed at SCQF 5 and also listed at SCQF 6. 2023 sees records for SCQF 4 and 5. Bearing in mind, members, this is leaver data. This is the measures that we bring to you once the young people have completed school, so their qualifications in their entirety. And members, I'm sure you would want to note the excellent comparison with the virtual comparator, which is the one that's made up technically around about the similar demographics to our young people. Also, members, to note our comparison to the national data, and also members to note an incredibly positive comparator to the South West Collaborative that includes South Ayrshire, North Ayrshire and Dumfries and Galloway members. And some of these performances actually placed our council in the top 10 in Scotland, which for our young people and staff is utterly tremendous. Members, moving on to SCQF level 6, as you will see, slight drop there in SCQF 6. Members, a lot of this is down to the examination process changing on an almost year-by-year basis, in terms of this year being the full introduction of the full hire post-COVID, when we had the adapted assessment arrangements. So you will see a drop on the national stage, on the collaborative stage and at the virtual comparator, but clearly, members, we are still well exceeding our virtual comparator. We are also exceeding the South West Collaborative, and I'm also delighted to report at SCQF 6, which are hires, members. We do have other ways of getting that, but in the main, these are young people leaving our schools with higher maths and higher English. So to be in that position again is definitely worth of highlight. I hope you'll agree. Members, moving on to page 19 in your report, clearly, as you have all worked in this space, and I'm grateful to all of you in the Chamber and the other services for your ongoing support for positive destinations. I think it's something that we're wholly signed up to in East Ayrshire as being a really significant measure in terms of whether our young people are going to have happy and sustainable lives in terms of employment and education. Clearly, members, we've already reported our positive destinations to you, but once again, colleagues, we reached record highs there in terms of all of this, and some pictures at the bottom of page 19 of our employment fair. Again, grateful to my colleagues in economic development and the LEP and other places for all the hard work that goes into this. It's certainly not a one service presentation on this one. So again, some really positive data there, members. In glossing through some of the other, some great photos there from a visit of the Interim Chief Exec, our Water Safety Day at Loch Doon. And again, that's just some of the highlights, members. I've tried to place the other highlights actually within the context of each of the sections. So, members, in moving to the sections themselves, section 1 is a full descriptor around about attainment and performance. And members, I'm clearly delighted to report you'll be aware that as part of the National Improvement Framework, we have to produce stretch aims. So we set ourselves targets that we all aspire to meet. That's also the case in our schools. So, members, 2 of the stretch aims are listed there. I'll come to talk more about them when I present you the Education Service Plan this morning. The ACEL data, which is achievement of a level. So again, trying to bust out on the acronyms. Clearly, members, the primary 147 literacy data shows 71% achieving the benchmark. And clearly, members, are closing of the gap, even more importantly, in terms of the Q1, which is SIMD 1 and 2, versus Q5, which is SIMD 9 and 10 comparison. So some really good steps there and really good signs of post-COVID recovery in the space. Members, the exact same can be said of numeracy in terms of that progress. And members, the reason I've included the Core Plus stretch aims, so we have several that are mandatory and we have several that we pick. P4 writing was of huge concern to us a couple of years back. So we've had a real focus in on that particular aspect, and I hope it's clear to see, members, for 23-24 we've moved up to 70% achieving the P4 benchmark there, and the gap reduced by almost 7% down to 14.6. Members, moving to page 23 in respect of attainment, levers overall data. So we're moving away from just literacy and numeracy that I discussed in the highlights. So we're moving into the actual level of qualifications. So, members, once again, a very positive picture in terms of SCQF 4 or above. So that's 1 or more in leaving school. And I think you'll find it incredible, members, that 97% of our young people leave with at least 1 qualification at level 4. So delighted to bring that to you this morning. And that's compared with the virtual on 95. as to where we should be, if that makes sense. Members SCQF level 5 at 86 with a virtual of 85, and SCQF 6, I've already mentioned there's been a bit of slippage there, members. It's not something we shy away from in an S&Q report, so it is somewhere we're having an acute focus. Clearly the higher measures on literacy and numeracy are very good, so what we're looking at now are clearly the pieces around about the other hires and where else can we actually make those gains. But we're only 1% behind, but as you'll know, I would rather be 1% in front. Members, moving through this section, I'll gloss through some next areas for you. Page 24, again, refer back to the positive destinations of 95%. We're % behind in there. I'll be pleased to bring the next report to you a further day. We've just had further release and we're going through census as we speak for some of these. So whilst we've got a great result there in terms of positive destinations, we'll clearly be pushing forward in terms of making some more gains. And remember, members, this was Leavers data for 22-23. There's further data going to be available very shortly. Members, attendance is not a positive picture. I am not going to sit here and pretend it's anything but. It's a national issue. It's an issue of huge concern. I think we would all take the view that if we get our young people into our schools and our centres and our SL33s and 66s, we can work magic with them. But the real concern here just now are the numbers of young people who are not attending school. So ultimately, we've had 2 attendance symposia so far, one with solely education staff, and that was opened up to a big event in Loudon Academy just recently, where we invited, parents, carers and others to come and discuss those real issues, real wicked issues with us. We continue to work with our Parent Council Steering Group in that domain, but as you'll see, members, very worryingly, the biggest impact on attendance is in SIMD quintile 1. So ultimately, once again, it's our young people from those SIMDs who clearly seem to be suffering as a result of the change in attendance. So you'll see it clearly featured in the improvement plan that I'll talk to you about in the next presentation, members. But ultimately, as you can see, if you look at page 25, the bottom of the all sectors measure is down by 5%. So, ultimately, members, and we are awaiting national data in that space, we will be below that data, members, there's no doubt about it. We were positioned in the bottom 3 councils in terms of attendance at the most recent outlet of that. So I'm absolutely not sitting here today shying away from the issue, but I think it's something that we all need to be wise to in terms of all of our roles across all of the services, and we'll continue to take a key role in that as education members. Members, moving along, again, a very difficult picture in respect of exclusions on page 26. Members, you'll see the exclusion rate per 1,000 pupils is documented there for you on page 26, going all the way back to 2016 and 17. Clearly, members, in the primary sector, we're not seeing an awful lot of impact, and that's a good downward trend there. But members, as you'll see straight away, yes, it's a lot less than it was in 2016 in the secondary sector, but it's on a creep back up. Members, there are some clear issues in some of our secondary schools about what some young people feel is acceptable behaviour. Exclusion is still needed on occasion. We will have this in focus because clearly we know that inclusion and attendance are the antithesis of exclusion, but at the same time, members, I'm very clear that when a young person carries out an act that's completely unacceptable, that it is something that we do require to use, often just to get space for staff and other young people to have the time to heal and regroup and think about next steps, and for us to look to support the young person in that space and any others who've been harmed as a result of that process. Members, you'll see that clearly again, and the same would be true in East Ayrshire Performs with that in front of you, around about some of the issues we experience in respect of violent incidents. You'll see a growth there in the special sector around about exclusion as well, members. So in all sectors, 22.5, clearly it's almost half the rate it was 8 years ago, but I think, members, in all honesty, as we look at the new service improvement plan, our continued commitment to the UNCRC and relational practice, we'll continue to move this along the line, but we do have strict guidelines on exclusion, which feature in our named standard circular 8 that head teachers work to, and I am very clear that there are times when the ultimate sanction does need to be applied. Members, moving on to the rest of that particular section, I won't spend as long as in the other sections because clearly I know there's a lot of key performance indicators in section 1. Pages 27 and 28 take you through some further aspects of attainment vis-a-vis literacy and numeracy, the use of PEF and strategic equity funding. And on page 29, some really key aspects that highlight the attainment piece. Our lovely Abby McClelland, who was Probationer of the Year, and Stewarton, which has been singled out for special attention by Education Scotland for their achievement in RMPS. And actually that teacher, Gillian, has gone on to lead national webinars. So a real nice focus. There's people coming to see us because they know how good it is down here in terms of that. Members, moving on to section 2, that's school and centre improvement. Members, you will see listed on the page 30 a list of visits undertaken to our schools last year by our central team. It's a peer model, members, for learning visits. So it's head teachers looking at other head teachers, and we also have several qualified inspectors, including myself, on the staff. So ultimately, we're able to bring that type of expertise to the table. This also involves parents and young people, members. We've got one just on its way this morning, one starting at Grange just today. So it's a rolling programme, members. And we are a small team here in East Ayrshire in terms of that central team. So we really need to tap into the expertise and knowledge that's out there with our heads. So big list there of that which has been undertaken. Clearly, members, referring you back to paragraph 9 in the covering report. We have ECC visits, but also, members, we also have the formal HMIE visits. So clearly we have had 2 incredibly positive visits to Nether Robertland and Annan Hill Primary School. The Doon Academy, we've clearly put a significant amount of support into support the school there in respect of a not so positive report that's already been through governance and scrutiny, members, and all of our reports, as you know, members, go through governance and scrutiny, and our spokesperson and deputy spokesperson in those modes. So I hope you can see clearly there's a huge amount going on. The learning visit model has been expanded to secondaries now. We're looking to see how to expand that into the special sector as well. And I'm actually having discussions with my colleagues in North and South Ayrshire to see if we could maybe work cross-border in some of these spaces. Members, you'll see in page 33 the list of early learning and childcare inspections as well, both external and internal. 36 internal audits of ECCs by our own central team, and then followed up as ours are in that particular space. Members, there were also 14 care inspectorate visits to ECCs, with only 1 being adequate and the other 14 being good or above. Members, moving to section 3 on improving health and wellbeing, which is in page 35 of your papers. You'll see there, members, a lot of narrative about early learning and childcare, our inclusion team, some lovely pictures of Twiggle the Turtle on page 37, which is the Paths Award that many of you have been to see in action. That's the Promoting Alternative Thinking Strategies, again, for the avoidance of acronyms. So clearly a lot going on in terms of helping our young people regulate their emotions and their thinking. Obviously not as appropriate in a secondary school to bring the turtle along, but the relational practice that's going on there in our secondaries is simply phenomenal. Page 38, members, we discuss further the East Ayrshire support team and their achievements, and also, members, our psychological service, where we've just lost our principal educational psychologist to the early years side, and we have now got an acting principal in the form of Ruth Miller. So I hope you'll enjoy reading about that. Members, page 41 and 42 speak about the fantastic school counselling service. It goes from strength to strength. And whilst we maybe don't want to see the huge stats of young people that access the service, I think there's a comfort to know that it's a service that was absolutely the right direction of travel for our young people. And you can see there over 1,200 young people have been supported by that particular service, outside of the support they would be given by their members of staff, guidance, class teachers, etc. Members, in moving through the rest of that section, you'll see narrative on curriculum outdoors, outdoor learning, some wonderful pictures of our young people doing literacy and storytelling at the Dean Park. And members, in moving through to section 4, and I've got my colleague Ian Burgoyne in the room as my Deputy Head of Education for Employability, Equity and Inclusion. But clearly, members, a lot of narrative here in section 4, the commentary on positive destinations, members, clearly the commentary around about employability. And page 46, we've been photobombed by Blair Miller from Housing. I notice putting in an appearance at SL33, and again, members, some really strong messages from our council in respect to your commitment and ongoing commitment to the modern apprenticeship piece and the pre-apprenticeship model. So I think real hats off there to our colleagues in People and Culture, the LEP and other services for really banging the drum about the power of apprenticeship there, members. Members, we also opened SL66. You'll see some lovely pictures there of our new facility up in sunny Netherthird. It's absolutely beautiful. If you've been to SL33 before, it just feels like a mini version. So clearly that marked a real benchmark for us this year in getting our second facility opened. And clearly, members, we continue with our innovative DYW projects such as barista, cycle repair, some construction, etc. In respect of the DYW projects. So really fantastic links through to our DYW, our LEP colleagues, and we're incredibly grateful for those. Members, in coming to the penultimate section, section 5, working together with families and communities, some clearly fantastic news to report in those spaces around about the performance of our Home Link team, our parent empowerment programmes that run at almost every single school in East Ayrshire now, around about bringing parents in, either to do some, paired reading with the young people or actually to help skill the parents themselves. So ultimately some fantastic support there for parents to feel part of the school. Members, I couldn't go past this section without mention of the fantastic work ongoing of the financial inclusion team and clearly the benefits that those have brought to families. Members, as is dear to yours, clearly a real focus on our care experienced young people. You'll see several aspects of commentary there, and also about our links into the children's houses to support the young people there as well. Members, page 50 and 51 give you some more flavour of the parental piece around about our early years community practitioners, family engagement, childminders and our equity and excellence leads. And I hope those pictures on those pages help bring some of that activity to life for you. Members, in moving to page 52 of the Standards and Quality Report, we're talking about digital transformation and sustainability. And clearly, members, we continue to be absolutely blown away by the success of our virtual provision, Southwest Connects, which is a virtual platform for young people to do mainly advanced hires and hires on, and that supports young people from across all 3 Ayrshires and indeed Dumfries and Galloway. Members, you can see there in 23-24, 106 young people access the advanced hires, and I was in a meeting with the chief executives of the 4 councils last week to report on the ongoing success in terms of exam results of that particular piece and the ongoing great levels of recruitment. So when we consider our smaller schools such as Doon Academy, there's just no way these young people would be able to access the suite of advanced hires that they now can via the online platform, clearly supplemented for the sciences, etc., with practical sessions, members. Members, the rest of that report continues on page 53 and 54, but had to highlight Catherine being the first ever ECC to obtain the Digital Schools Award, because they weren't meant to be in it. And actually, by applying for it, the Digital Schools Award moved into early years. So we have the first early years centre in Scotland to have achieved, by sheer pushing in, to have achieved the Digital Schools Award. So hats off to Judith and the team down in Cotton. Members, moving through sustainability and climate change, I know several of you were there just yesterday at our amazing climate conference in terms of bringing all of that together for the young people. Amazing partnership, members, across business, eco schools, RSPB, you name it, I think they were there, and amazing representation for the young people, the schools and the staff who are working on that. So again, to name but a few, Journey to Jupiter, which is now Shoot to Saturn for this academic year, Power Down, food waste and litter. Clearly, the amount of food waste we've been able to reduce has been nothing short of phenomenal, and clearly the amount of carbon emissions we've been able to bring down. We were given some statistics by James Lally yesterday at the event, and they were simply phenomenal. Members 56 and 57, a real pictorial representation of that which is going on across. And it's, again, members, these can only be snapshots in these reports to try and give you a flavour of that which is going on to promote both digital and sustainability. We finished that section on page 58. So again, another first for East Ayrshire, with Kilmarnock Academy gaining STEM recognition, and also, members, as I know several of you had the joy to go and meet Pepper the Robot down at Gargaston, really looking to develop links with the brand new Robotarium. So, members, section 7 is only my concluding remarks. So I commend the report for your comments and questions, members. Thank you, Chair.
Colleagues, any comments or questions? Claire?
Just a quick question. Thank you very much for the report. It was when we were talking about the attendance. Is there a link between attendance and distance to the school travelled? Have we ever searched that? It's just been one of the ways I always lived by the school. I was always late. So I just wondered if there's a link.
I suppose I can't really answer it on a full East Ayrshire basis. And to be honest now, with the advent of the service bus and the bus pass as well, there's been so much put there that would prevent that being a barrier, you know, in terms of, you know, parents who are able to run wains to school, or, you know, access school transport, etc. So what we're seeing is not generally related to this. It's more about, you know, the I'm not going to school today type piece. So clearly, I'm very hopeful of continued education reform, as you know, members, in terms of making school an attractive and relevant offer to our young people. It's been stuck for a while, and clearly through the advent of the 4 recent reports that I've brought to you for your information, in terms of, you know, Withers, the national discussion, the Hayward review, etc. I would be really hopeful that, again, we can continue to diversify the offer. SL33 and SL66 members, as you know, you've put your shoulders right behind, and thank goodness we have them. So we are able to engage a lot of our young people who are finding attendance at school difficult through SL33 and 66 and other offers, but we can't go and build another 10 of them, clearly in a fiscal and sustainability piece, but nothing directly, Councillor Maitland, that would suggest it's distance to school, but it will likely play a factor, if I'm honest, in that piece. And it used to be quite an issue around about particular schools like St Joseph's, where if a young person was coming from Kirk and they missed the bus, how did they get there? But actually now with the service bus piece and all of that, that's certainly hope to alleviate some of those issues.
Thanks. Elaine?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of quick comments from me. As described by Linda, this is an annual statutory report, but I think it's a really useful overview, and it's a great reminder of some of the fabulous highlights that we've achieved over the last 12 months. I think it's appropriate for me to thank Linda and all the staff in the schools for everything they do to support our children and young people. Linda touched on a couple of areas that are of concern for us, some of the mental health, anxiety levels in the school and attendance, but there's no surprises in there, and Linda does have teams looking on that, and obviously we'll be able to pick that up in the report later on with the service improvement plan.
Thanks, Elaine. No, I totally agree with that, and just, you know, thank all 32 members for all their support, you know, in our schools locally. I know everybody have got a role to play in supporting our schools right across East Ayrshire. Just one of the wee things for me, you know, it's a very good report, but, you know, there's issues ahead of us, as you rightly identify, and, you know, the attainment challenge funding, with that good, I mean, that was specifically targeted. I don't like the word target, but it's specifically looked at, you know, the areas of problems with SIMD, the poorest areas. So this is a problem, you know, with that funding being removed, and we can see there in terms of exclusions and other things, other markers. There's problems thrown up for the future. Is there anything we're doing just now that, you know, obviously within this restricted financial, you know, situation we have, that we can do just now to you know, make sure that there's no negative, you know, consequence ahead of us?
Yeah, absolutely. And members, that this does sound crude, but again, we strongly believe if we can get our young people with us, then they can attain. It's the young people that are not with us are the concern. So be that through exclusion or be that through non-attendance. So ultimately, as you'll see in the education service plan that I'm going to present to you this morning, Chair, a real focus on attendance, a real focus on curriculum, and a real focus on relational practices. So again, the schools are all on a journey around about those relational practices, about how we deal with issues, etc. And how, again, clearly the schools are all trauma informed, but it's how does that play out when there's a really big incident going on right in front of you. So, ultimately we will continue in that respect, but also I've been very clear to all of my heads around about being brave, around about the curriculum. We are always risk takers in East Ayrshire where we know it's the right thing for the young people. SL33 was one of those risks we took, and it's paid off significantly in respect of positive destinations and qualifications, but also for those who've been in SL33, those young people with the ESN turning up and having a job, which is phenomenal. And again, I think we'll see that in London Road as well. So ultimately, I think, Chair, through that piece about our beliefs as a council, that all young people matter and that positive destinations are the key measure, then, clearly as we move forward, I'm happy that the plan will address these, but it's not something we'll be able to take our eye off the ball with. Education Scotland this week or next are about to publish national materials on attendance. They've obviously got it in their scope as well, and that's to support schools to look at this as a particular issue. So yeah, ultimately I think through, again, heads being brave, offering the subjects they feel the young people need rather that which was maybe there 30 years ago. It's very much about a good offer, a real focus on the foundation apprenticeship. Members, I spoke about that the last time I was in chambers on that particular matter, because given we've got such a strong MA line here, the FA line needs to feed it. So if we can get the FAs firmly installed in schools as alternatives to hires and national fives for some young people, it channels them through a pathway where they can earn as they learn. And I used that exact term last week, Chair. So again, I'll be hoping for members' support in terms of that diversification and focus.
No, thanks very much, Linda. No, I think, looking at this nationally and critically, I know there's much in the debate about teacher numbers just now, but I think pupil numbers and getting people across pupils into our establishments are important too, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. Maureen, then Drew.
Thank you very much, Linda, and thank you for the report, and thank you for your very comprehensive presentation of the report. Couple of things to pick up on. I hope that staff here, as we have this morning, just the strength of backing that you're giving them, and I'm sure that staff will take real comfort from that, particularly the words that you have expressed in terms of exclusion really as a last resort, but certainly not one that we're shying away from. And I think that's really important for staff to know that and to have that security of backing and support from them, from their head of education. And also for parents as well to understand that what we are looking to do is be very clear about what our standards are as an authority across all our schools. So that's really important. I also would want to pick up on what you expressed yesterday about people coming to visit, and certainly I think we hear a great deal about how successful East Wren is as an education local authority. And I think yesterday at the Climate Change Conference, the fact that we actually had people there from East Wren wanting to see what it was that we were actually doing within East Ayrshire, I think shows the advances that we are actually making here. And in many ways, that's against the level of deprivation that we have across ourselves as an authority, and shows that we are not prepared to just accept a starting point for our young children, that we have serious and ongoing aspirations for our young children. So I think that's something that's really important. Again, like Councillor Maitland, I'm concerned about the level of attendance, and I suppose my supplementary question to that is, are we seeing, when that's actually analysed, are we seeing any particular days of the week? The reason that I introduce that is because I have recently read in national press, listened to articles on national media about parents regularly taking children out of school on a Friday, so effectively reducing that to a 4-day week for children in school. Are we looking at any analysis of any patterns and any actions and any advice and support that we're giving parents? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, through you, Chair, Councillor Mackay. So yeah, Councillor Mackay, just to advise, I actually write to my staff every Friday morning. They're probably sick of it, but I do advise them of such matters, you know, in the staff update that we get on a Friday. It'll be tomorrow, and I'll continue to send those messages out, Councillor Mackay, and often that might be on an individual school basis, in terms of a significant incident, as there was in one school yesterday. So I've asked the head to put direct messaging out to those affected, because clearly these have a huge impact on staff. So I really welcome your comments there, Councillor Mackay. It's really important that they know that I have their back in these matters, and will support them, particularly where these acts of some of the young people are indeed deemed criminal. In terms of the East End piece, thank you very much for picking that up, Councillor Mackay. It was lovely with 2 head teachers from East End with us yesterday to look at our climate conference. Had a good chat with one of them, and they were absolutely, they'd been signposted to us by Education Scotland in terms of excellence around about sustainability and learning for sustainability. So thank you for that. Councillor Mackay, we are seeing the long weekend phenomena through the attendance statistics, both on a Monday and on a Friday. So we do see that. We still see certain days for certain young people, if they don't like that particular day's offering on the timetable as well. I see some nods round the room on that one. And again, members, we also do see slippage come the school holidays. That's definitely grown arms and legs of late. So those weeks preceding a formal school holiday, if I was to analyse the attendance at school this week, pre-September weekend and post-September weekend, I absolutely know what I'm going to see. So there are aspects now of that sense of sort of a more relaxed setting, potentially, you know, the work from home piece, the dynamics have changed, and ultimately the work from home piece has had an impact on some young people where they got used to parent being at home, and they're still used to being at home as well. So ultimately, Councillor Mackay, your suspicions are absolutely spot on. We do see phenomena around the weekend, but we also see incredible phenomena on the run up to a school holiday. And it's just about trying to sustain that messaging that, you know, every minute and hour of school is important. But at the same time, there's a lot of families who, again, tell us that they can't afford holidays at other times of the year. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, other than clearly the legality around sending your young person to school.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Maureen. Drew.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Linda, for a really good report there. You mentioned doing academy quite a few times here, and I'm glad to see that's a big focus for you, especially with the disruption and the work that's going to be happening over the next couple of years, such as to keep the attainment levels going. So it's good to see you. That'll give the public a bit of comfort that you're on top of that. Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks, Drew. Claire.
Going back to the Friday phenomenon, managed to say phenomenon. Does the Friday 1:30 finish feed into that? Does it help it? Does it hinder it? Thank you.
So not all schools have the 1:30 finish. There's a couple of secondaries have a short Friday. Councillor Maitland, you know, some of them do, some of them don't. There's some phenomena comes through that, but actually if the school are making sure that the timetable's balanced, so for example, putting some of the core subjects on a Friday, we'll tend to bring the kids in because folk look at that and go, oh, you've got maths on a Friday, you're going in. So there's that kind of aspect goes on. So there's no clear answer to this, as much as I would love there to be, but there will clearly be, again, some families that will look at that as a 9-year half day and then take a view on that. And I know several authorities, I'm not introducing this in here today, but I know several authorities are actually looking at that as a standard model across both secondary and primary right now. It's not something that we have any discussions on, but you know, clearly there are phenomena related to that might mean, oh, it's just a half day, don't go. So, you know, and again, I'm just speaking from trying to be close to what I hear out there. So yeah, likely some phenomena, but again, if the schools are clever in their timetabling, it's something that can be avoided.
Thanks, Graham. And
No, just some more positive feedback and just this climate change conference, Linda. I was sitting next to Liz Marcus for the East Ayrshire, the Energy Agency, and she made a comment the fact that East Ayrshire Council are streets ahead of any other authority in this matter. The fact that we had elected members there, teachers, the pupils, and basically most of the services there sharing best practice across the 4 main themes. So that was a positive comment on that. Well done to all the pupils for the hard work that they've done. And I think 30th of September is the launch of Shoot to Saturn. Which, I'd also like to make a comment that Drew brought up the fact that the investment in Doon Academy. We all know that 48 out of our 49 schools are of a condition A or B, and our young people deserve a learning environment that lets them thrive and excel. But we're not resting on the laurels with this. We're getting a further £96 million of investment over the next 5 years, so that's to be welcomed.
absolutely, no, it's absolutely right to highlight that, Graham. Jim?
Thanks again. Just to follow on for the positive comments by Councillor Barton. I was at the Scottish Language Awards on Saturday night in Cumnock and delighted to say that New Cumnock Primary School picked up School of the Year for that one, and also I think she stated the case that the head teacher would have loved to attain the credit for having that, but she doesn't. She passed that on to the principal teacher, Daniel McNulty, who also received Teacher of the Year in Scotland for the Scottish Language Awards. So it was an absolutely fantastic night, and I congratulate both the school and the teacher on that. Delighted to hear Linda saying the word Markirk and no Muirkirk, so that language is still staying with us. And finally for me, that I really do look forward to the official opening on ASL 66. I've had a couple of visits to it, and it's an absolute cracking place. So I hope the members can join us on that day, on the 22nd of October. And that'll be open, I think, the President of COSLA coming down to do the honours for that one. So good.
Thanks, Jim. There's a challenge now. I look forward to Christmas shortly in Hurlford and Scotland. All coming up, and we'll give you a crash course switch with the but no, I'm pleased to see the efforts that we're doing in the Scots language. You know, and just East Ayrshire getting a good reputation for just being great exponents of that. So that's great to see. Great to see the warm welcome that had in Cumnock over the weekend. Anyone else? Okay. So just gives me nothing more to do than go to the recommendations and.
Hello.
Oh, Maureen, sorry.
Yeah, hello. It was just to actually share something with you. I don't know how many people managed to pick this up on BBC Scotland, but it was just on the Scots language issue. It was that an amazing young woman within East Ayrshire is actually working in one of the new jobs of actually being a social media influencer. And what was really important was quite how many likes she actually had. It is absolutely incredible. We are at well over 100 million likes for this young woman. And the really important thing, and she was really terrific about talking how important it is. You can hear I've had a great deal of my Terbolton accent taken out of me. Nothing to do with me, all to do with parenting, I can assure you. But what she was really emphasising was how important it was that her Scots language was part of why she had been such an internet success, and how interested people were that in actual fact Scots is its own language and that we actually have that as a language. So it is a real positive, and clearly on a huge stage we are actually scoring highly as East Ayrshire, and it was absolutely fantastic to hear us, you know, being mentioned in that sense on what's clearly a national programme and something that has much wider play than just ourselves. Excellent.
That's good to hear. We'll do a wee bit of research on that, Maureen. Thanks for that. And good news coming from Terbolton there, Maureen.
I know,
So-
Terbolton, very wonderful, isn't it?
Okay, thanks for that. And can we go to the recommendations now? Can we agree recommendations in paragraph 2, page 3? Okay, now on to the Employee Support and Report Hub. Amanda.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. The purpose of this report in paragraph 1 is to detail to Cabinet the proposals to launch an Employee Support and Report Hub, supporting employees to report incidents of harassment and/or discrimination that have affected them in the workplace. The background is laid out in paragraphs 3 through to 6 and provides members with details of the feedback received through the People and Culture Equalities Forum and the initial survey carried out by Closing the Gap as part of our Equally Safe at Work programme, which identified approximately 20% of the respondents had either witnessed or been subject to some form of harassment or discrimination. Given that our monitoring statistics do not reflect this, we began research on how we could support and encourage employees to report incidents. Within paragraphs 7 and 8, members will see the details of the steps that we were taking in implementing and reporting and hosting the system, noting that Donna gave a presentation to Cabinet members this morning on how the system actually works, and that unfortunately not all members were able to attend, so we will share the presentation after this meeting. The communication plan is in paragraphs 18 through to 20, which ensures that all employees are aware of the system and also are able to access the new hub. The implications starting in paragraph 21 with 22, there's no direct policy or strategy planning implications. Paragraph 23 are governance implications, noting that a full data protection impact assessment has been completed due to the sensitive nature of the data that may be stored, and this is available on the members portal. Human resources implications are in paragraphs 24 through to 25, noting that the support and report hub system has been shared with both our local government and our teaching trade unions, and they're fully supportive of its introduction. Paragraphs 26 and 27 detail the equality impact assessment, which again is available on members portal, and then financial implications in paragraph 29. Noting that the development of the hub by an in-house collaboration has removed the requirement for external licence and therefore has mitigated costs to the People and Culture budget. Paragraph 29 details the risk implications, and take you back to paragraph 2 for the recommendations of the report, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Amanda. Any questions? Neil?
I was just to thank the IT staff for the work that they've done put into this system. Obviously, it's if we hadn't, it could have cost a significant amount of money. But also to thank them for the emphasis on supporting where we can. Obviously, it's anonymous, but if the staff are aware that they can leave their contact details, we can then support them in any kind of difficulties that they're having. So thanks again.
Thanks, Neil. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Graham, sorry.
I'm going to divert a wee bit here in the fact that IT have built this in-house. Now, apologies if this exists, but do we have a mechanism for employees to come up with their own suggestions of service improvements or cost-saving ideas? That perhaps we can build something like that in-house.
Through you, Chair. Happy to go away and discuss that with relevant colleagues in CMT, but just reassure members that we already have maybe a paper-based and communication style already in place, where it's part of service improvement plans that you see before you, it's part of the budget report, and just as part of those regular budget monitoring reports where services try and eke every pound that they have, then that the ability of staff to come forward and provide suggestions about either stopping things or doing things differently already exists. But I'll speak with relevant colleagues through you, Chair, and see if a more formalised process or system would be beneficial.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Because sometimes it's difficult for people to bring it up in a difficult environment in front of the managers, etc. And this vehicle would be certainly help them bring their ideas forward, because there's nothing like the people in the coalface know that the service is best.
100% agree with that. Yeah, and if we can make that kind of, because sometimes it's absolutely difficult to point out to somebody that's typed up the system that there's maybe a more efficient way of doing it. It's not the easiest thing to do. Anybody else? Okay, can we agree the recommendations, page 61? And over to the next item, which is item 3E, item 4E, which is annual employability report. And David.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide Cabinet with an update on employability work streams delivered by the Council services in the period 23-24 via No One Left Behind funding and Shared Prosperity funding programmes, and to set out the details of planned activity by programmes and theme approach during this financial year. Paragraphs 3 to 9 sets out the background at a national, regional and local level and how employability and fair work is key to the delivery of a strong economy, where good, secure and well-paid jobs and growing businesses have driven significant reduction in poverty. Our aligned visions are set out in the Regional Economic Strategy, Ayrshire Community Plan and the Council Strategic Plan for 22 to 27. Following the pandemic, skills gaps were identified within key sectors across Ayrshire, and for businesses to access a skilled labour pool, the need for a full complement of employability services has perhaps never been greater. Employability funding was traditionally supported through EU funding via the European Social Fund and European Regional Development Fund programmes, with the UK Government funding the Shared Prosperity Fund, which is transitioning from EU to UK Government funding. This 3-year funding has entered its final year of funding, and local authorities across the country are currently waiting an update from the new government on what the likely funding arrangements will be beyond March 2025. Scottish Government funding also provides support to deliver the No One Left Behind strategy and local employability partnership, providing a focused and coordinated activity across all delivery partners on the needs of citizens at a local level, and to focus on these in the most need of employability support for 2024 and 25. Fair Start Scotland referrals are now have now been ceased and are now been directed through No One Left Behind. As part of Scottish Government delivery of the NSET, the Employability Strategic Plan for 24 through to 27, that was published on Friday the 13th, and a report will be presented to Cabinet setting out the strategy and our approach to align with these priorities. Paragraphs 10 through to 17 sets out the East Ayrshire delivery model through the multi-agency approach through the LEP, and the LEP is responsible for taking forward the employability agenda and aims to take a strong collaborative approach to delivery. It has an oversight of the strategic development and governance of the employability and skills in East Ayrshire, and the key responsibilities are set out in paragraphs 10. Supporting the work of the LEP and reflecting a significant contribution made by the Council services to the employability agenda, we have an internal employability project board, which comprises senior officers from economic growth, education, people and culture, vibrant communities and health and social care partnership, to consider all matters relating to the employability pipeline activities to ensure that before the LEP considers matters, there is an overview to ensure there's no support and gaps in service delivery. Paragraph 16 and 18 sets out the improvement service performance indicators for the percentage of unemployed people assisted into work from council-funded employability programmes, whereas a council we have risen from 30th to 5th during 22-23 period, with 24.8% of participants entering employment compared to 6.2 in 21-22. This is a significant achievement and testament to the innovative and joined-up approach to employability services across East Ayrshire. Turning now to Pan-Ayrshire skills activities, we are delivering on the Ayrshire Regional Skills Investment Plan through the Ayrshire Skills Working Group, which is a multi-agency forum led by the Ayrshire College and which ensures that a pathway into sectors such as aerospace, engineering, clean growth, marine manufacture and digital, food and drink and tourism have a clearly defined skills provision. The plan also aims to improve employability outcomes by addressing existing employment barriers and promoting inclusive growth. Work is also ongoing with education to deliver and develop pre-employment courses to support school leavers into employment. The Ayrshire Growth Deal Ayrshire Skills Investment Fund is a responsive skills fund launched in October 23 to drive inclusive growth to support skills interventions and additionality to meet sector skills gap. Grants are available up to £3,000 per person to help address skills gap within the business workforce. Funding has supported 130 employees from 44 Ayrshire businesses, currently committing £191,000 of the fund with East Ayrshire businesses, and feedback has been very successful. The remaining three Ayrshire Growth Deal revenue programmes, Working for a Healthy Economy, Fair Work and Community Wealth Building, are all delivering successful outcomes. Working with a Healthy Economy, the project offers occupational health support to individuals who are either unemployed or indeed are working for SMEs who require external support. Up to 31st of March 2024, over 1,000 people across Ayrshire had accessible management support via both telephone and full face-to-face management support, and close to 130 have returned to work. A range of events and promotional activities continue to be undertaken to support this programme. The Fair Work Ayrshire programme works with employers to implement fair work action plans into workplaces across Ayrshire and links them to employability pipeline and skills development programmes. They've assisted in 150 businesses across Ayrshire, with the last year bringing a total number of businesses with fair work action plans into progress or completed up to 270. Noting the progress of the Community Wealth Building programme and aligned to the Regional Economic Strategy, the Regional Economic Partnership agreed to extend the programme for 1 year up to March 2025, and we'll be looking to how to extend that beyond this period through UK government funding once the announcement on the next tranche of funding from UK is announced post the autumn statement. Examples of this are set out in paragraph 29, and the programme will be, paragraph 31 and 32 sets out the positive highlights of delivery impacts by education and employability services interventions over the year through the LEP, and funding for this financial year was subject to considerable delay due to the national funding gap, and the Scottish Government have now allocated investment of 1.8 million as set out in paragraph 48. We also have delivered a trusted partner framework, and that was set up in October 2023 in order to deliver a varied number of programmes covering the 5-stage employability pipeline, with 27 providers successful in accessing the framework and attaining contractor status, which allows them to bid for in-year commissioning programmes totalling £820,000. Through the LEP, a small employability grants process was set up with the CVO as lead, and 17 programmes were delivered in the community. They were progressed to delivery stage, which totalled a value of £140,000. Highlighting this year's No One Left Behind delivery programme, paragraph 55 sets out the target groups during the financial year, and Appendix 1 provides a more detailed description of the approach being taken in East Ayrshire. with particular focus on support for young people leaving school, unemployed lone parents, long-term unemployment, supporting disabled people, tackling child poverty and tackling economic inactivity. Paragraphs 41 and 42 sets out the jobs and training delivery in the period up to March 2024, highlighting that 115 modern apprenticeships were achieved, 29 graduate interns and 2 graduate apprentices. They were all created within the council, and through the Economic Development Recruitment Incentive Grant, a further 45 young people have been recruited as apprentices or interns by local businesses. In paragraphs 44 to 45, financial inclusion team received 182 referrals and assisted 118 clients during the last financial year, and secured £200,000 of income maximisation for these clients in financial gain. And the clients were also assisted to enter into the employability pipeline to undergo training or job searches to lead them to a positive destination. Paragraphs 58 sets out the Shared Prosperity Fund offer, and Cabinet will be aware that Council has allocated £6.1 million over the 3 years, and that, as I mentioned before, was concludes in March 2025. And we agreed to spend that funding on 13 projects across 4 investment priorities. As was mentioned before, Linda's highlighted that with a successful the employability hub at SL33 has been extended now to SL66 at Cumnock, and we've also now upgraded the employability hubs at Dalmellington, and we have a new temporary hub working with the CVO in Bridge Street, Galston, which will then be taken forward into the new Galston the Galston Library and Town Hall facility from spring 2025 as a permanent base. The Economic Growth Employability Programme focuses on continued support to clients who are predominantly at stages 4 and 5 of the employability pipeline. The main themes of this programme are employment for support for the economically inactive and unemployed, sector-specific programmes, closing the disability employability gap, future skills and rural economy. Unemployment and inactive clients registered within this programme also have access to fully funded accredited training programmes. The programme also provides support to employment clients that are aiming to enhance their employment via upskilling of qualifications. This offer is part funded at 50% of the training costs. And we also are looking to provide 80 recruitment incentive grants to businesses during this financial year to provide long-term apprenticeships with local businesses. The programme assisted 181 clients with job searching and 253 clients to gain employment during the last financial year, and a further 72 were also assisted to gain qualifications or complete a course. In addition to these job supports, the job coaches will also continue to provide additional support needs using the 5-stage model, with focusing on stage 1 engagement right through to stage 5 in work support. This is aimed at clients from 16 and over who are unemployed, inactive or employed through a measure of in-house supports, and clients are also accessing accredited training as mentioned before. We've also invested £524,000 into third sector employability support to deliver a range of projects and programmes working in partnership with the third and private sectors to support those that are furthest removed from the labour market. Support will be aimed at clients within stages 1 to 3 of the employability pipeline, aged 25 and over. When completion, clients will be referred to stage 4 of the pipeline, and they will have full access to support to provide a positive destination. Another area within this funding programme is the funding for Multiply, which is a ring fence funding from the UK government, and that provides numerous skills for adults aged 16 and over. And one of the successes there is that the Colleagues Environment Communities linked through SL33 have got a SQA accredited programme that is looking to deliver and achieve significant support to individuals needing numeracy support. As demonstrated in the report, there is a degree of overlap between No One Left Behind and Shared Prosperity delivery programmes. The LEP and the Employability Project Boards continue to work together, and with both Scottish and UK government fundings and other agencies and third sector, they will also assume an oversight role for both programmes. In paragraphs 72 to 73, we also highlight that the 5G Innovation Regions funding for businesses in Ayrshire. Also will provide a supported £300,000 for bespoke training and skills developed through Ayrshire College and the West Scotland University. And then that will be targeted at support over the next 6 months to local businesses that fit into the digital sector. Paragraph 74 to 76 highlights one of the legacy projects which the Council are working with the 9CC Group, which focuses on working with business to deliver bespoke employability programmes supported through community benefit payments from the wind farms. This has been delivered through the LEP and Emergency One, the UK's leading manufacturer of specialist fire and rescue service appliances, has provided or will provide more than £1.5 million of funding over 5 years for 2020 trade apprentices, with 10 apprentices in 2024 and 10 in 2025. In conclusion, this report has set out the comprehensive range of employability support that we've carried out over the last financial year and proposed to undertake this financial year. And Chair, happy to answer any questions. The recommendations are set out in paragraph 2.
Thanks, David. No, an absolute excellent report. Straight away, paragraph 17, Jim was pointing out to me there, page 69, we went from, to the improvement service, we went from 30th to 5th. That's an incredible achievement. And, you know, just like the whole basket of achievements, a whole basket of interventions have contributed to this success. And, you know, looking at some of the work we're doing in No One Left Behind, you know, just we're getting to really, you know, areas of high SIMD, young people with families, you know, really just making an effort to tackle the issue of generational cycles of unemployment and worklessness. And this is where we need to go to the real tough areas. And I think that was some of the education interventions we're doing. This is where we really need to go to turn around our communities in a positive way. And just some of in terms of jobs and training, we're on particular interventions in terms of 200 apprenticeships. It's great to see just how diverse they were. And again, they came from all different kinds of backgrounds right across East Ayrshire. And hopefully that in the long term, that's getting people a foot in the door and getting long-term economic activity into all these for all these people, and just tackle some of the major issues that this authority has in terms of had in the past in terms of industrial decline, unemployment and worklessness, and we're really making efforts here, and that's great to see, David. Anyone else? Elaine?
Thank you. Just a quick question for me. Do we actually have anything such as, you know, a regional occupational or critical skills missing list that all the partners either reference or feed into? Does something like that exist? I know we have it at a national level, but I'm wondering if we have it regionally for the Ayrshire.
Thanks, Chair. STS produced a regional skills assessment, which is a fairly comprehensive kind of skills audit, which absolutely identifies where gaps are within the regional skills environment. So that really would be the go-to. There's also a regional skills matrix, which I know our schools are using, which again flag up areas where there's substantial skills gaps or opportunities for future employment. So both of these would be the kind of documents we'd go to initially.
David?
Thanks, Chair. I think in addition to that, I think that's the same review or survey of the skills gap that fed into the strand that's led by North Ayrshire under the Ayrshire Growth Deal arrangements. And that fed in. So there's a strand being led by North Ayrshire where overall a certain amount of money has been allocated to respond to those identified skill gaps, to try and either create training courses to meet those gaps or to provide grants to employers to meet them. So that review, that ongoing piece of work, which happens on a regular basis, has fed into that strand within the AGD and informed the means and the decision making that will follow around how to best disperse those grants to try and address that skills gap and be training up the people for the jobs that will be there in 10 years rather than the jobs that were there 10 years ago. So that is an important piece of work, and it does inform a lot of what the council does, including that particular strand within the AGD arrangements.
Thanks, David. Okay, Maureen.
Thank you very much. David, obviously it's a really complicated landscape that you're working within, and I know that doesn't make it particularly easy. You're reporting really high degrees of success. My question is, you know, given that you have the overview and you understand the interrelationships of all of these programs and the complexities of them, if you could change one particular aspect, what would that actually be, and what would you expect that to deliver, please?
In term, probably one of the first things we would look at is multi-year funding.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be something that we've all raised that as various members of CMT and the leader has also raised at various meetings with the Scottish Government about we need multi-year funding, because we do have it with shared prosperity and we can have that overlap between the financial year. But this year's a good example of where the funding was delayed. I think we were nearly at the end of the first quarter before we get our full allocation. So that means that we have to try to bridge the gap for as individual services, and again, we have multiple services within the council delivering employability. So we need that funding to make sure we can deliver a consistent approach. So that's probably the main thing, Councillor Mackay.
Yeah. Thank you for that, and that's, I'm not surprised that you're saying that, and I think that's something that we really just have to keep going on and on and on about, because I know you've done a very good job, and we've seen the papers that you've brought forward in terms of being able to do that gap bridging. But as our finances get tighter and tighter, that becomes less of an ability for us to do that. So I think that is something that we all need to consistently be reporting to all levels of funders.
I quite agree. It's multi-year funding is where we need to go right across the board, but particularly in terms of these kind of interventions. David?
No, it was just to kind of add to that. Just that, I mean, through myself and Ian, we actually obviously have the ability to dynamically review what changes happen during the year. So that the kind of funding allows us the flexibility to make those changes. So we collectively look at between the you know, what is, if there are any particular gaps, and then through the project board establish how we need to fill it, whether we can do that both either within the council or need to take it through the LEP to you know, ask external partners to assist with that. So that gives us the ability to flex during the course of the year to try to meet any kind of demands that pop up.
Absolutely, can identify the demand where there's shortfalls in terms of skills, and but unless we've got the funding to train these people up, or the ability to do that, you can't link the two. It's very, very difficult. So it's really important that we give that message. You're absolutely right, Maureen, and David too. We need to give that message to all spheres of government that we need to have that type of funding to get successes. Maureen, what back in?
Yes, I just wanted to ask also, David, to have a sense of many of these programs, and you've explained that to us again this morning, have got ages tagged to them. And I suppose another question is that something that's helpful, or is that something that's unhelpful? Because, my sense of it is that there's quite a bit of pressure when people are coming to the upper age limit of any particular programme. I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
I'll come in initially, just in that, Councillor Mackay, maybe bring you in, because any other examples, but age is obviously set out, and I mean, we have individuals who kind of migrate between a calendar year between the two age groups. So we have to make sure the kind of gaps are covered there. A good example, when we got the funding through from No One Left Behind, once we identified the kind of key areas, we identified that, you know, there wasn't a recruitment incentive grant opportunity to deliver through No One Left Behind. So we extended the shared prosperity right across an all age provision. So we do that across all ages. So that gives us the ability to make sure that we can meet those gaps in that particular area. But there are obviously there are some times when there can be challenges dependent on funding with ages. But I'll let Ian come in the latter question.
Thanks, David. And through you, Chair. Yeah, I think as far as the education element of employability is concerned, Councillor Mackay, Young Persons Guarantee was a specific programme for 16 to 24-year-olds. And it really made sense for us to build in the expertise and the capacity that we had developed through the Young Persons Guarantee programmes that we delivered. It's also the case that working with the 16 to 24 age group means that we can have a continuum of support from school, because we can work with young people in school 6 months prior to their leaving date. They then transition into our post-school provision. So it just kind of makes operational sense for us to focus on that particular age group. I think where the question is, if I understand correctly, it's really when we come to the 24-25, and that's where the good relationships between all the funding streams and actually the LEP as a coordinating force means that really is as seamless as we can possibly make it. So there is no real cliff edge, that a young person transitioning between 24 and 25 years really, like, you know, we'll be able to make that work because of the really good communication we have across these different elements of the work streams. So I hope that helps in your understanding from our point of view.
Let's see. You okay, Maureen?
Yes, thank you again. And again, I think it's really just to ensure that there's that illustration of the level of work and the background work that's actually going in here, that what we're not doing is delivering that cut and dried service. And I think that's a really important message.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else? Drew?
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to thank David for his monthly meetings and his information he gives me all the time. Basically, it's really fantastic information to get for the community health building side of things. Also, the way he supports the 9cc as well. I have a big launch tomorrow. North Kyle have got their first turbines up, so there's a big launch between, and I believe David will be there as well, I think. You get an invite? So it's great to see how that community health is building through the 9cc and the wind farms as well. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. No, it's quite impressive to see some of the work from the 9cc as well. Just a new approach to doing things. It seems to have a bit of success out there, a bit of learning there for others. Okay, can we go to the recommendations? Can we agree recommendations? Okay, and now go through to the series of service and improvement plans. And Ian, do you want to introduce this?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just very quickly. So service improvement plans clearly an essential part of the Council's performance management arrangements, and they support the delivery of the priorities in the community plan and our strategic plan. So this batch that's before you follows on from the batch that you'd received at your last meeting, Chair, on the 4th of September. So with those introductory comments, probably easier just to pass straight to Linda as the Head of Service for the first one on your papers today. Thanks, Chair.
That's it. Linda?
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Chair. Members, delighted again to present to you this morning, and this time in respect of the Education Service Plan 24 to 27. Members, for clarity, this is another of our statutory reports in education. We're absolutely obliged to submit an Education Service Improvement Plan and indeed school improvement plans for each and every one of our schools and centres across the authority. So again, through the Standards in Scotland Schools Act 2000, this one following your discussion today will be submitted as our plan for 24 to 27. Members, using the numbers in your documentation, page 93 marks the start of the Education Service Plan, and clearly, members, you'll see references to the Standards and Quality Report embedded in here. Clearly, we can't include those until that had been passed by yourself, which has happened this morning, so those will then be embedded in this particular document. Members, page 94 to 106 cover the generalities around forward structure, vision and values, profile, financial, workforce, and school and centre estate, many of which you will have already seen in the Standards and Quality Report presented to you this morning. Members, page 107 to 115 cover the Council's strategic framework, equalities, pay data, policy context, and indeed our model of service delivery and our own structure. And again, members, you'll see reference back into the Standards and Quality Report, as clearly they are intrinsically linked. We use our Standards and Quality Report to influence the direction of travel in the Education Service Plan. Members, from page 116 onwards, you'll see comprehensive coverage of reviewing our performance. Clearly, we've broken that down into the prior reference numbers, for example, 1.1, etc. Those are RAG rated, and we also provide comprehensive evidence as to the judgment in the RAG rating that has been there. Members, page 116 to 119 covers the previous format of the improvement plan. As I've already mentioned, you'll see this morning we've entirely changed our format of improvement planning in the current climate. So pages 116 to 119. Clearly, members, this is reporting on literacy and numeracy. All targets achieved, some ongoing, and you'll see further representation of that in table 1. Members, page 120 to 126 cover the broad thematic of health and wellbeing. Again, members, all met or ongoing in that respect. And through the last 2 targets, members, and again, you've heard a lot about this morning already in the S&Q, page 127 to 131 covers closing the attainment gap. And again, members, all targets met or ongoing. Members, the last of the previous improvement plan, and looking back, covered positive destinations and employability. That's covered on page 132 through to 136. And again, members, all targets met are ongoing. You'll be clear, members, there's some of the aspects on the previous improvement plan we wouldn't be walking away from, given that they're key concerns for us, both nationally and as a council. Members, page 137 to 146 covers the technicalities of the joys that are stretch aims. So members, as I alluded to this morning, again, we are statutorily required to set stretch aims across a set of designated stretch aims, and we are then asked members to select several for special attention in terms of the Core Plus offer members. So as you'll see there, members, so the selection of stretch aims there. We've provided significant commentary as to why they are there and what the rationale for their being actually is. And clearly that involves looking back and moving forward. So for each of those stretch aims, members, within that particular piece, you'll see additional information, you'll see trajectory rationale, and you'll also see what the historic picture has been. But the most important part, members, is you'll see what the projections are in taking us through to 25-26. So really nailing more colours to the mast in terms of that, which we hope to achieve as part, members, of the stretch aims. So clearly some quite comprehensive coverage there, members, in terms of the stretch aims, but probably most interestingly for you, members, when you come to stretch aims 4, 5 and 6 on page 142, they are all specific to attendance. So members, not only have we included it in our improvement plan, we've clearly taken the steps of really affirming commitment to improving attendance across the authority, and I hope you see that there across page 142 in terms of that rationale. Members, moving through the rest of the stretch aims, again, you'll see connections into our performance at SCQF level 6. And members, again, on page 145, I'm sure you're not surprised that we've selected as a Core Plus stretch aim for us that secondary exclusions were to come in for some more special attention, shall we say. So members, you can see there where we hope to be by 25-26, broken down by SIMD and again by gap. So members, I hope that section is clear in moving us forward in terms of our commitment to those set targets and in being very transparent with you in that particular space. So members, clearly those stretch aims are connected to the ESIP proper that starts on page 147. Members, in terms of consultation, it has been extensive. We've had direct sessions with the Parent Council Steering Group. I've had a direct session with the Children and Young People's Cabinet, direct session with all head teachers and heads of centre, direct session with all central education managers, and in addition we developed an online survey for all employees of the service to be able to contribute in that particular space. That was launched before the summer holidays and concluded only 2 weeks ago, members. Members, we've reset our priorities into the 4 colours on page 147. The previous way we used improvement plan was quite starchy. It was linked very much to the priorities in the NIF, so literacy, numeracy. Didn't really feel very collective or collaborative when I look back on it. So members, the 4 key priorities now are our leadership, our learning, so we're able to take that across parents, families, communities, young people, our well-being and belonging, our attainment, destinations and achievements, and members, they are then fleshed out in the following sections. So page 148 through 151. Members, in terms of format, we let the schools know what quality indicators they're covering. It saves them a lot of work. So ultimately we do that piece for them. We also, in bold, elaborate the NIF drivers, so the National Improvement Framework, what is it we're covering, and we've also got specific reference as to how that works for ECCs. Members, you're then presented with 2 tables, and these are in red. The first one is the actual target itself, and the second one takes us through baseline timescales and responsibilities. So members, the first section talks about our leadership. You'll see 5 targets within there, members. I won't go into each of them in detail. You've got the reports with you for your perusal. Members, page 152 takes us into the Our Learning section. And again, a real mission statement around about, you know, again, what our young people can expect and what our staff should expect, etc., in those particular spaces. So same format, and members, 6 targets in that section that are all clearly explained in the first set of tables and then fleshed out further in respect of baseline target, responsible officer and the timescale for which the target would be operational, given that this is indeed a 3-year plan. Members, page 158, the green section is about our well-being and belonging. So actually, again, trying to cover everybody, not just the young people. So a real sense of collective responsibility. This went down incredibly well during consultation, members. So clearly, as we progress through that section, it's a meaty section, members, and again covers the issues around about attendance, relationships, the needs of learners, the promise, clearly our health and well-being and monitoring and tracking in those respects, members. And members, page 164 sees the last section, or the blue section as it's now been known, which is our attainment, achievements and destinations. And actually, members, again, we're aiming for hugely high levels of inclusivity there. And the mission statement of being, we want the very best for all of our young people in East Ayrshire. We aim to ensure that all our young people secure a positive destination through excellent achievement and attainment at all levels. So really trying to embrace this notion of a collaborative piece in respect of this particular plan. So members, I'm happy to take any questions in that space. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks, Linda. Just want to ask a wee question. Just based on ASN, you know, we've got a table there on page 98 that shows quite 3 distinct communities, but surely, well, there's 2 questions within that. You know, what are the projections and where's the overlap, if you know what I mean? You know, so we're saying there's, you know, 689 ASN, and there's a secondary and a primary population. So within that, there will be I take it, an overlap, and there will be, you know, there are changes we know that were in previous, you know, examinations of our ASN requirements in terms of, you know, the need. There's issues in terms of diagnosis and, you know, where these, where the people should be. It should have been an overlap within some of the you know, and
so
it's not just a clear 3 populations, what I'm trying to say, and there's challenges within that and how to predict it.
No, you're absolutely right, Chair. The reason we use additional support needs there is around about special schools and really where we can, moving away from that type of terminology. It's one that I don't particularly like. So that's the ASN schools that have 6, 8, 9 within it. So they are 3 distinct populations there, but additional support needs, you're absolutely right, Chair, would also be represented in there. But what I've tried to do there, and I should have probably explained it better, that's just those that sit in the ASN schools or the supported learning centres. So I absolutely take the point on that. But yes, there'll be, as you know, members, 34% of our learners are ASN, to use the statutory definition in its widest sense.
No, thanks. Just to have that wee bit
No,
clarity.
you're absolutely spot on, Councillor Reid.
Okay, anyone else? Jim?
So, and just picking up on that, the ASN and the budget pressures on that as far as transport as part of that recovery plan. I'll be quick, Linda. How's that recovery plan going? Progress?
I'll provide you with an honest answer, Vice Chair. So ultimately, members, I'll be with you on the 23rd of October with the ASN transport paper. I'm sure many of you have been contacted by parents out there in the piece as we begin some of the work, and it's very difficult work, members, around this particular piece. So the recovery plan in its widest sense, I'm very grateful to Joe and his team for working alongside my team in that space. The recovery plan holistically is coming on incredibly well, but clearly the ASN transport has been a significant £2.3 million of that overspend is a much more difficult piece, and Ian and colleagues have been working in that space. So we will be moving into pre-briefing sessions with members before the paper comes to you, but the paper is ready to be, well, not ready to be lodged, but will be in progress for the 23rd of October Cabinet, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Elaine?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Just a quick comment, because I don't want to duplicate my comments on the earlier paper. So focusing on the Education Servant Improvement Plan, I think it's really good seeing it in this format. And it shows clear alignment with the individual schools. So just want to encourage elected members, if they're engaging with their parent councils and the school management team, then if they haven't already saw it, then they maybe want to ask to see the school improvement plan, and they'll see that clear alignment, which helps with the strategic direction of Linda's service and teams. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Cowan. And very, very briefly, members, we send a draft of this to schools in May so that they can see what the authority direction of travel is, clearly before you've had a chance to sign off, because obviously we don't finalise that until that time. But just around about that piece, every school must submit statutorily a school improvement plan, and we spend most of the summer going through all of those, and we provide individual feedback to all of our schools and ECCs in that particular space. So there's a further process to be gone through, but absolutely all of you who attend parent councils would be involved in that particular space. Thanks very much, Councillor Cowan.
So, Maureen?
Thanks very much again, and it is, I suppose, it's linking again what you already said in terms of the in terms of what you already said about the ASN, and I suppose this comes on a little bit in terms of Marion's service as well. Is we know that ASN is such a broad term, and I think Councillor McMahon's already highlighted that this morning, that the variance is absolutely huge. We also know that parents of children with additional support needs really do feel that they have to battle every single day, and everything is actually, it feels that they are having to fight. That's often the words that are used for their children, and not even for anything special for their children, but really what they consider are actually the basic needs that their children have and the basic entitlements that their children have. So we're in a situation where clearly, you know, a £2 million plus overspend on ASN transport is, of course, a huge concern to us. But again, not every child, I think, as you've indicated or begun to indicate, is actually has the same level of need, and there is a whole series of level of needs that children have. So I think sort of, against the budget pressures that we're under, I think what I'm looking for is I'm looking here for some absolute comfort for these parents that we are going to, across the children, particularly the children across our special schools, we're actually going to be looking at every single individual case as an individual case, and it's not a blanket approach that we're actually going to take here, Linda.
Through you, Chair, and again, thank you, Councillor Mackay, for your comments in that space. And clearly, Councillor Mackay, you're absolutely right. There's a huge diverse range of need out there in terms of classification of ASN as per that particular legislation. I suppose if we're referring to the transport piece, Councillor Mackay, in respect of the overspend, we absolutely do need to look at absolutely every case, and those young people who do need particular, adapted transport or aspects like that, clearly we're looking at that, and it's very much that forensic attention to detail that I think will actually release the savings. But, ultimately we have had schools in the past, where there's taxes around about things like anxiety, and actually I suppose, members, the question is, if we're going to be brave in making some of these decisions, how are we setting young people up for independent life after school? And, clearly it won't be a taxi to university or college or the workplace. So, clearly we've got a lot of work to do around about resetting some of that more entitled feel around about this, because there's not an entitlement here around about some of the transport issues, but the perception in society is that is an entitlement. So ultimately, Councillor Mackay, you're absolutely right. This and we are doing the current audit of the transport piece. We're doing on a case-by-case basis, which has been an incredibly difficult in terms of officer time. But you can absolutely accept comfort, Councillor Mackay, that we're looking at these cases on individual basis, and why at the same time some of it will feel rather painful when we bring those papers to you, members. Clearly I'll come and have a discussion with you in advance, but it's very much about the assets that the family might already have in respect of those young people, such as mobility vehicles, etc., that one would reasonably expect might be used for the journey to school. So I don't want to steal Ian's thunder when he brings the paper to you, members, but clearly this is a difficult and quite emotive piece of work that's ongoing just now. I don't suspect it will be, and I think we already know from emails that have crossed paths, etc., that this is difficult for parents. But also, members, we have already taken this out of schools. So schools now may not arrange taxis for young people at their own bequest. This has to come centrally until we address the budget deficit. But in doing so, Councillor Mackay, please accept my assurance that it is very much on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you, Linda. And Leader, if I just might continue. Again, I think it is just emphasising, Linda, I understand the severe budget pressures, but some parents have contacted me. I am concerned at the additional anxiety. There are unfortunately some children who have life-limiting illness and life-limiting conditions, who have particular demands on the physicality and the physical needs that they actually have. And it is of course a concern when we have these parents who are additionally experiencing levels of stress and concern. And as I say, that embattlement issue is one I think that we've all experienced as elected members. And it's about how we actually sort of, give comfort that we do really understand, as you've said, the level of diverse needs that there are, and decisions that we are going to make are going to be informed decisions. And it is not going to be a blanket approach that we're going to take. And I think that's the one that really, really needs to get underlined, because the last thing that we want, particularly when there is a paper like this in the public domain, but it isn't actually, the outcomes from it are not being actioned for a period of time. It's leaving parents who are already in very stressful situations having to cope with more stress for a length of time.
Thanks. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we're going to come to this paper fairly soon next month, and the points are absolutely right. There isn't a a one size fits all or a blanket approach required here, but it's a situation that we've got to grasp and get a hold of, because there are budgetary consequences that will hit other firms, the overall budget elsewhere. So it's something that we've really got to grasp the thistle on this one. It's not going to be easy, but it's a place that we need to go. David?
It was just, I think, in general terms, noting that the thrust of these papers is obviously the service improvement plans, and the paper on the ESN is still to come. It's still in development. I think the assurance that we can give just now is just to highlight to the whole community of interest, parents, members, everybody, that the statutory framework within which we have to operate and deal with these matters wouldn't allow us or support a blanket approach. It's absolutely tailored on that assessment of, identification of, and then meeting the needs of the individual. So even if we were so minded, the statutory framework that we need to adhere to and fully comply with needs to be followed. So it wouldn't support that blanket approach, and that's the comfort that can be given just now. Equally, as members know, we spend £4 million a year on these taxes a year, and that's not sustainable either. So I think you're right, Chair. The paper's coming, it's in progress, and I think it would be better for members to see the detail of the picture. But at this stage, the assurance is we have to abide by it, and that we're happy to abide by. We wish to abide by our statutory obligations, and that wouldn't allow that blanket approach. So that should hopefully offer that high level of assurance just now, till we can get into the detail when the paper comes forward.
Thanks, Dave. That's helpful. Thank you. Neil, you had your hand up as well.
It's just a bit for my understanding, Linda, on page 138, the stretch aims 1 and 2, literacy and numeracy, for SIMD quintile 5. The stretch aims at the top end is obviously going up the way, so you can see the stretch there, and the stretch aim to be achieved by 25-26 is certainly an improved position, but the lower end of the stretch aims are actually below what we currently have as a level. So just for my understanding, could you explain why that's the case, both for literacy and numeracy?
Sorry, Councillor Ingram, can you give me is it the 138, the first? So you're saying it's both. So I'm looking at, just point me in the right direction. Sorry, Councillor Ingram. I can see the table.
So both tables, SIMD quintile 5, you've got the current level 80.4 and 80.8 respectively, and the lower end of the stretch aim is actually below what we currently.
Oh, right. Apologies. Right. So it's to do with cohorts. So basically the cohort changes clearly. So those young people who were in 147 in 22-23 will now be 25 in S1. So basically what we've got are the new group sitting in situ. So they'll be sitting in ECC P3, P6. So based on where they are. So what you're seeing there, Councillor Ingram, you're eagle-eyed, very good, well done, is the cohort phenomena. So ultimately, and I know this sounds ridiculous, our final stretch aim could end up lower based on who we've got in front of us. But ultimately, because it's not the same kids going through, this is the cohort phenomena coming through. So because we track them year on year, 3 times a year, that's why we know what's coming. So 76.4 is sitting there, for example, in that literacy one as a worst case scenario based on what we think we can see just now going into the next set of stretch aims. So ultimately, that's what it is. So it's not the same group of kids, it's the cohort phenomena playing out. You pushed me with that one, Councillor Ingram, thank you.
No, that's great. That's a wee bit extra for my understanding. So that's
yeah.
Good. Cheers.
Maureen, do you want back in? Maureen, I don't know if that's a legacy hand or you want back in. Legacy. Was it?
Sorry,
Oh.
no, that's Legacy Hand. Thank you. I was satisfied with David's reassurances, and I think that was important to get that. Thank you.
Thank you, Murray. Okay, we can go to the, if there's no questions, we can go to recommendations. Oh no, we'll just get nothing. Because that's like the education, which is a convenient bit to have a 5-minute break. So we're back at 11:50. Can we do that?